hydro. What?
Hey. Welcome to Advanced Studio Classroom live stream. It is Monday afternoon. Good to see you. I'm Peter, and I'm joined today by...
David. So wonderful to be on the show. Thank you so much for inviting me, Peter.
Always glad to have you on the show, David. And we'd like to say again hello to all of you out there. Our topic this week, as you may have guessed from our quasi-corporate appearance, is leading a meeting, running a meeting. First thing you got to do to run a meeting is have a pointer. Otherwise, we can teach you all the vocabulary in the world, but if you don't have a pointer, you can't run a meeting.
You'll never learn it. You'll never
We're
run a meeting.
kidding, of course. Anyway, just having some fun there. But yeah, running a meeting. Now, we want to say right from the outset that this isn't necessarily something only for you out there who are in the corporate world. The vocab that we're going to review today can be used in any kind of group setting, which becomes a meeting where you have to discuss something with multiple people, even if they're your friends, even if they're your family. So this is words that you could use in a corporate meeting, where you are all in neckties and everything, or it could be just when you're trying to figure out where to go this summer for your vacation, or where to go tonight for dinner. So keep that in mind as we go along, and we hope you'll be able to find applications for these words outside of just the specific corporate context.
That's right. And hello, Steve. Wonderful
Steve,
to see you.
Always good to see you. Can we move the thing a little bit? The camera's right in front of the comments. I can't quite see them. But in the meantime, let's get you over to our poll. If you haven't checked out our poll already, please do. The question is, how often do you find yourself in a meeting? More than once a week? Once a week? Once or twice a month? Less than once a month. So again, this could be a corporate meeting because that's the kind of job you have. You have a lot of meetings, or not so much if you don't work in a corporate setting. Again, still think about how many times you have to get together with some people to talk about something and to figure out a course of action in some way. That's what we're thinking of as a meeting. So it looks like so far with our poll, we have some early respondents. Can we open up the poll again, just see the results?
Most folks are once a week. And hello,
Once
Rose.
a week, yes.
Good to see you, Rose.
Hey, Rose. Nice to see you, as always. Yeah, it looks like most of you so far have a meeting once a week, sure. Some of you, about 1 in 4 of you, have a meeting more than once a week, so busy, working with people a lot. Once or twice a month, none of you so far as I can see, and less than once a month. There's some of you out there that, just not in meetings very often. That's fine. If you ever, we're talking about running a meeting today, leading a meeting, but if you don't lead many meetings, you may find yourself in a meeting sooner or later. So these are words that you might hear whoever is running that meeting use in running the meeting.
That's right.
Have I explained it clearly enough?
I think so.
Okay, then let's go right on to some vocab for you. Our first word for today is docket.
Docket.
D-O-C-K-E-T, docket.
Docket.
David, what does docket mean?
A docket is kind of like the list of things that you're going to discuss in that particular meeting that day.
Right. It's like the agenda for the meeting. You may have heard the word docket from courtroom drama on TV because it is primarily from the legal setting in which the docket is the list of cases that have to be tried in court. So the judge might say, you're the last case on my docket today, so make it snappy. But that kind of judge anyway would say that. But yeah, you might hear it in a meeting. You can use it in a meeting saying, okay, on the docket today, we have this item and this item and this item. Let's go to the first one. So we've begun the meeting now, sort of walking us through it here. We've begun the meeting, and still right at the beginning, you want to create a comfortable environment. Again, whether you're in a courtroom setting or just out in the park with your friends somewhere, you want to create an environment in which people can feel free to exchange ideas and not immediately get shouted down or judged or anything. So our next word here is foster.
Foster.
F-O-S-T-E-R, foster.
Foster.
David, what does foster mean?
Well, aside from being a very popular brand of beer in Australia, foster also means to kind of cultivate something, to create something, to create oftentimes like to build something like an atmosphere. You want to foster an atmosphere where people feel free to share their ideas. You want to build it.
Right, well said. And maybe you've even heard the term foster parent. That is a parent or two parents who adopt a child, and they create an environment for that child to grow up in. Steve, hello. And we've got a comment. Sometimes when I was in a meeting, I tried to take some notes, but if I don't know how to do, I will ask my uncle for help, because he taught his employees how to lead a meeting before. Wise uncle you have there, Steve.
That's good.
Maybe he's watched the live stream a few times. Anyway, for those of us who don't work for Steve's uncle, we have another vocab word for you, and that is vantage.
Vantage.
Vantage. Now you'll see there's a word in parentheses here, point, for a total of vantage point. Vantage is a word by itself, but more often than not, you're going to hear it used with the word point, so we included that in parentheses. So vantage point. David, what does that mean?
A vantage point is kind of another way of saying a perspective, right? Someone's perspective on something. So you can say, from my vantage point, and then give your opinion. And also we have a nice extra word here. We talked about being a foster parent. The child of a foster parent would in fact be a foster child.
Yes, good use there. Foster child, exactly. So it can be an adjective or it can be a verb. I'd like to foster an environment in which we're all free to exchange ideas, or adopt a foster child. So yeah, vantage point, good word again for setting, for introducing your opinion on something instead of just saying, well, I think blah, blah, blah. Which you can do, it depends on the kind of people you're meeting with, but you might also want to say, well, from my vantage point, and that's just a little bit more elegant, might get people's ears perked up a little more when you use a nice English term like that to introduce your opinion. That's essentially the meaning of it. From my vantage point, from where I see things, it looks like we're good here, we're good there, or we're not, or we are. Whatever. Okay, one more vocab word for you, and then we'll get into a discussion question. Endorse.
Endorse.
E-E-N-D-O-R-S-E. Endorse.
Endorse.
David, what does endorse mean?
Endorse is like what Andy Lau did when he was selling the toilets, right? He has his picture there. He made a song about toilets that my wife loves, actually, and he put his celebrity signature on a particular brand of toilet. I think HCB, a Japanese brand. Anyway, to endorse something is just to give it your approval, but one of the ways we often see it is when a celebrity endorses a particular product and says, hey, I'm going to put my signature on this to say, this is a good product, I like it, if you like me, you should buy it. Right,
so you can use that in a meeting to say, if you agree with someone, you can say, I agree, but you could also say, I'd like to endorse your idea. I think it has merit, I think it's good, I think we should give it more thought. To endorse something means to support it. Steve, hello again. I remembered there's a cartoon called Foster Home for Imaginary Friends. And I think it's a great imagination made by Cartoon Network. Well, I've certainly heard of Cartoon Network. You know this show?
No, but it sounds very fascinating and sounds like, hey, listen, watching cartoons that you like is a great way to learn English. So if you can watch that show without without Chinese dubbing, watch it in English maybe with subtitles, that's a great way to practice your English.
Definitely. Get some vocab from us and then go watch some good English language cartoons and you'll have that well-rounded English vocabulary that's going to take you far.
Oh yeah.
Let's go now to our discussion question. Take a brief pause from the vocab. Discussion question. Very practical today, our discussion question. What tip can you share for having a productive meeting? And again, this is a corporate meeting or this is a friendly meeting, but what tip from your own experience, even if you've never led a meeting, even if you've always been in meetings and thought, well, the leader really should have done this or said that, what tip would you give for leading a productive meeting? Let us know in the comments section. David, what tip from your years of participating and leading meetings, I assume, would you give?
Action steps. You gotta have action steps.
Action steps. Very good.
There are a lot of meetings that are just a lot of blah, 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 and then everyone walks away and says, what was that meeting about?
Yeah.
But if you structure some action steps into the meeting, meaning that after you talk about a particular thing, then you say, okay, now we need to do this by this time, and maybe even say, so-and-so, can you please do this by that time?
Yes.
Right? Giving action steps so that the meeting actually leads to some things that actually get done.
Yes, well said. And what you can use for that is your docket that we introduced earlier on. Just go down the docket and see what items, what you've decided on this item, this item, this item. That's the value of having a docket.
And here's a really good piece of advice here too, standing meetings.
Yes.
Right? This is something that they do in Germany, I've heard,
really?
fairly often. Yeah. If it's a standing meeting, then it makes it so that the meeting can't go on for too long because everyone's standing there, right? They're not sitting down, getting comfortable drinking their coffee. Everyone's standing, so there's much more of a motivation to just get to the point, get it done, get everyone organized, and then end the meeting and go off.
So everyone can sit down.
So everyone can go sit down, right. Yeah.
Let's try standing now, see how that works. So now I imagine we might be a little out of shot at this point.
That's not a problem.
Oh, or maybe not.
No, we're a little, okay.
Yeah, we're just teasing.
Okay,
but anyway, just wanted to try the standing meeting. Maybe we'll have a standing live stream at some point, just see how that works. But I think we're going to continue with a sitting one for today. Excuse me. Let's get back to some vocab. Oh, and tip from Steve. Thank you, Steve. To share a productive meeting, one tip I will give them is you need to be self-confident to let people know you are trustworthy. And one more tip is to make PowerPoint slides to get people to let people get inspired. Great English, Steve, and good points. Yeah, there's nothing that beats good old plain self-confidence. And how do we get self-confident?
PowerPoint.
PowerPoint and preparation.
That's right.
The more prepared, don't lose sleep over it, of course. The biggest mistake I've seen people make in meetings is that they just go into them unprepared or not as prepared as they could be. The more you prepare, the more confident you will be ready for this question, that question. You will just be on top of things.
That's right.
Because a lot of times confidence is important, and we should talk about that, we should remember it, but sometimes it can be a little mysterious as to how you actually get confidence. Sometimes TV will tell you, well, it's all based on the underarm deodorant that you use, but it's also preparation in my experience. Let's get back to some vocab here. Another word for you here, nice one, I like this one, notion.
Notion.
N-O-T-I-O-N. I'd like to know where you got the notion to use Notion in the live stream. What is Notion?
A notion is sort of like an idea, right? Like you have the notion to do something.
Right, it's as simple as that. It's an idea. So again, these are words you might not feel compelled to use yourself, but that you might hear in a meeting where, especially in a corporate setting, people do want to sometimes use more elevated language. And notion is, it's an idea. So a good use of notion in meetings is if you disagree with someone, if you want to oppose your view, you can say, instead of, I don't like what you're saying, or, I don't like it, or I disagree, you can say, I'd like to challenge the notion that we can't get more productivity out of this sector, or that we can't do this, we can't do that. And that's a more elegant, polite way of disagreeing with someone, and that may make them more able to hear your disagreement instead of just kind of, feeling a bruise to the ego and saying, oh, he doesn't like my idea, I don't like his. Just, you're still disagreeing, but you're
just challenging the notion that they would say something or believe something is a certain way when you have your own particular vantage point that something else would be possible.
Exactly. From my vantage point, I see things a little differently, so let's compare notes and see if we can come to a point of agreement. Joy, hello, Joy, good to see you again. Sharing the dockets before the meeting. Good idea. Circulate the dockets. That way everyone sees, and it's not like you just potentially making it up out of your head.
That's right.
Share the dockets. Good thought. All right, now let's segue to another vocab word, and that word is segue. S-E-G-U-E. I may have given it away, but David, what does segue mean?
Well, aside from being a popular form of transportation, two wheels and a little handle that you can ride around on, which I think it's spelled differently. It's segue
I think
with
it's
a
with
Y.
a W, actually.
W-A-Y.
Yeah, W-A-Y.
But segue with this spelling is basically a transition from one subject to another.
Yes.
Like if you're going to, maybe you got a little bit, maybe your meeting's getting a little bit out of focus. You've segued into some other subject that maybe was not originally part of the Ducket, right? But you kind of transitioned into it.
Yes, just for reference, that's Docket. Although I think I prefer Ducket from now on.
I prefer Ducket.
Yeah. We're getting hungry here.
Quack,
What it
quack.
is. Comment from Steve. Hello, Steve again. I got one notion when I was drawing a poster that talked about health and exercise, and I want to show to the meeting to let people know my notion on this topic. Yeah, sure. You can use Notion in a simpler way that way too. The idea of that Notion is an idea. Thanks, Steve. Good one. Okay, here's something. Oh, and we got
good
another
use
one.
of segue. Yeah, his performance of Caroline segued into a cover version of My Tears. That would work.
Yes.
Yeah. You could have one thing segue into another. Usually we talk about segue in regards to like talking as opposed to music, but not incorrect. And I like your example.
Right. That's the way radio used to, and maybe still does, play songs, is they'll often begin the new song while the other song is just about over, but not exactly over, so that they don't have that moment of silence between songs. One song will segue into the other. Well, time has flown by as always, but we want to give you just a couple more words here. Here's a word to help you for something that can happen in meetings, any kind of meeting, is when the conversation starts to get distracted. It starts to get off on a detail, a side note that isn't really important to the main detail, down a rabbit hole, we sometimes say, where you're suddenly talking about a topic that you're not easily going to be able to wind up in the time that you have. So what you want to do in that word is use our next vocab word, reorient. Reorient. And I'll take this one. This is just where you can say, okay, I'd like to reorient our conversation back to our original topic or back to topic X or whatever it may be, to reorient it. That's what, to be oriented means how you are set, how you are aligned, how you are adjusted to something. Orient your face so that you are looking north. Orient your shoes so that they are pointing south, whatever. But thereby to reorient something is to refocus it, to refocus it, really. That's the best way to think of it. And yes, reorientate. Close word, close. You will hear that sometimes, means basically the same thing. Orient is one of those words that sometimes gets an 8 added on after it. It doesn't change the meaning. It's just a funny way that English sometimes has evolved. When you reorient or reorientate, it means basically the same thing. Okay, well, this brings us to our last vocab word because we are out of time for today. So just as we wind up the live stream, you can wind up your meeting by saying we are
adjourned.
Adjourned. ADJOURN. Here's the single form of it, but in the past tense or the adjectival form, we would say that the meeting was adjourned, and that means
it was finished.
It was finished.
They ended it.
It's done. We are adjourned. Everyone can sit down now if you're in Germany, and the meeting is over. So yeah, it's just a fancy way of saying the meeting is over, we're done, we're finished, bye-bye. But instead of that, you can just add a touch of class and impress people with your English vocabulary by saying, well, we are adjourned.
Yeah, or meeting adjourned.
Meeting adjourned. Yeah. Yes, there, Rose has got it. That's right.
Rose has got it.
Okay, folks, that is it for this week. We are out of time, but we do hope that you'll come back and join us next Monday. We'll have another topic to present to you on, to meet about and talk about and share our English and help you grow in your English as well. But for today, I'm Peter.
And I'm David.
Saying bye-bye.
Bye-bye. And Taiwan #1, we won!
Taiwan #1!
We beat Japan!
Wasn't that an amazing game?
That was unbelievable!
Oh my God.
Wow!
The 3-run homer, and then the last out, the last 2 outs on the line drive, he caught, doubled him off the bag.
So good.
Oh man.
So good. Taiwan #1.
Number one.
#1.
See you next time.
See you.